Hey guys, welcome back to the Yarnquisitions Podcast. I'm your host, Sulene, and we do knitting here for now. And I hope you guys have like some kind of beverage you want to drink, maybe some water, coffee, tea, or maybe you're nibbling on a little snacky. Or just knitting and not consuming anything. I don't know. That's up to you. I'm, for one, I'm drinking coffee because why not? And yeah, I finally got more coffee because the car it's like fixed and ready to go. And if you think something looks different about me, you are right, because obviously my bangs are like super fucking short and like, oh my god, I made a mistake and I cut it right before filming. So yeah, and also it's like I made a huge mistake, okay? I just made a huge mistake when cutting my hair because I'm like, okay, I gotta do this fast or I'm never gonna do it. So I just pulled it all together, all my bangs that are, I don't know, like this length, and not the side bangs, I guess you could say, or not the shorter hair on the side. So for my front bangs, I just pulled it all together and then pulled it tight, which is a no-no, and then snipped it right underneath my eyebrows. But then I forgot that when you cut longer hair, it like bounces back up like crazy, and that's exactly what happened. I just cut it too short because my hair is too bouncy. Like, what? I don't know. And for curly hair, obviously, if you have curly hair, it's even worse because it curls and then shortens like dramatically. You know. So you just gotta remember how your hair behaves. But because it's been so long since I actually cut it, I did not remember that. Also, I cut my the long hair. I don't know, my longer hair. I don't know. What do you say? I don't know. How do you say that? So it used to be like right here, like at my hip, I guess you could say. And then I cut it right above the belly button, and then it shortened a little because I washed my hair, so that it got puffy, much more puffy up here, because I cut it like 5 inches, and I cut my bangs like 3 inches, so that's pretty dramatic, I guess. I kind of like it now at this length, because you know that 5 inches kind of matters, because A, it touches my butt crack, and then B, I don't have to worry about it touching the floor when I like bend down or bend over or whatever. So yeah, that's a plus. And I cut it with all my hair in the front, so when I put it in the back, it's what do you call it? Like sloped like this. Or like this. I think this is a better visual. It's like sloped at the bottom like that, but very so slightly, you can barely tell because it's so freaking long. So note to self, just cut the hair. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if I'm just gonna cut it incrementally until it gets to here. But then I need someone else to cut it because I can't cut the back like that. Yeah. Because I want it to be like straight all around. Don't know how that's gonna happen because I hate going to the hairdressers or getting my hair cut at a hair cutting place. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with my FL, I guess. So if you've seen this in the background, it is my Cargill sweater. And today is finally the coolest day of the week, considering from Monday to Thursday it was like 100 degrees or over. So it's a nice reprieve from the heat, and today's high is 80, I think, around 80, and it's overcast, which is great so that it doesn't hit over 80 probably, Fahrenheit. So yeah, I did try this on today, and the sleeves did lengthen just a bit, so that's good. So I don't have to like rip back and knit more. And also, side note, I blocked it. My first blocked sweater. Is that bad? So yeah, and then when I found that this yarn is really pliable and it can stretch really easily, and I almost stretched it too much actually, but I mean, I feel like it could do with a bit more stretching in the arms especially, but I didn't really I laid it flat for like the first few hours, and then I put it outside because I didn't want it in the bedroom when I'm sleeping, because it smells like a little funky. I think it's the mohair in it. It smells like burnt hair, but nothing is burnt. And I use like baby shampoo to block it, so obviously I had to rinse it, but only rinsed it like once or twice, and I find that that's sufficient. Let's see, and the mohair did soften a little bit, but I don't know, maybe I'll just like cut all the long mohair strands in the neck, in the inner neckline or collar, so that it just doesn't bother me too much, because all the mohair is like super long, but that makes for like a great fuzzy halo. So yeah, it does fit well, but I think because it scrunches up a lot before blocking, I could have done a little bit more length, because when you block it, or when you make it wide, it shortens, because that's just how it is. So yeah, I could have done more for the body, or knit more for the body, but it's still a good length. It still like sits right here, so, or around the belly button, and I did knit it a little longer than the pattern says in both the or at least for my size, for the sleeves and the body. So yeah, I think it was supposed to be meant to be like a little shorter than right here. I think it's supposed to sit here, but I made it longer so it would sit here. And it does sit here when after blocking. Before blocking, it was a little like iffy. And for reference, I made the sleeve 31 repeats. So just count each dip stitch vertically. That's 31 from underneath the arm. So yeah. And the yoke sits like right here, just like super close to the armpit. But if I went up a needle size to 4.5, it definitely would have sat much lower, like probably from here to like here or something, I think. But the yoke size actually stretched quite a bit in blocking. So I think the final, oops, this is the front. The final size for blocking is like 20 centimeters from underneath the collar to underneath the armpit. So not including the collar. And the collar is like 3.5 centimeters or something. But of course you could do whatever you want for the collar. Someone did an I-cord edge, and then someone else did like the full like what do you call it? It's not a high collar, like turtleneck. It's like a complete turtleneck, or like a funnel neck, I guess you could say, because it doesn't fold over. So it just goes up here and then it stops there. But yeah, this sits like right against my neck. And I thought it would pull a little down, like when I was trying it on, when I knit it. I thought it would pull down more, but because I think I stretched it out a lot, and so it doesn't do that anymore, which is kind of a shame, because it really like hugged the neckline like much better, in my opinion. But yeah, because it's stretched out now, it lays much more horizontal on me. I don't know, that could just be because like I have a very square frame, and if you hear that, that's the cats with all the meowing. And do I have to play with you right now? Hanso-san, do I have to play with you? But yeah, it did hurt my wrist a little bit, so I did have to take quite a few breaks because of the dip stitch pattern. And I used my usual style, which is the Portuguese style knitting. So yeah, and because the dip stitch, you have to go underneath and through the back, and then Portuguese style knitting, the working yarn is in the front. I had to switch to English knitting for the dip stitch. Every time I do a dip stitch, gotta bring the yarn gotta yarn over with my right hand instead of yarning over with my left hand. But yeah. I think that's it. If you use Portuguese style, which I feel like not a lot of people use that style of knitting. Yeah. I mean, what else can I say about it? I think that's it. Oh yeah, for the neckline, you do line up your knits with the knits of the body, and the purls with the body. So yeah, each one should just line up well. And then for the dip stitch, it's a knit purl knit. So you gotta watch out for where you started, because I started in the middle, like smack dab in the middle of the back. So I had to start with the purl. So just so you know. And then for sleeves, because you have to decrease, and the decreases are different for every size. I think for every size, or for every other size, the decreases are different. So the knits and purls in the 1x1 rib will not line up perfectly at all for any size, I think. And then for the ribbing on the body, because there's no decreases, you could just match it to the pattern, or to the body pattern for the 1x1 rib. But yeah, you just gotta be aware where you are. But it does start with the knit in my size. It might be different for other sizes. So, but yeah, for lining up the 1x1 rib is possible on the collar and on the body rib, but not possible for the sleeve rib. So just a note, I guess. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I saw other people that used DK and without mohair, so that looks so good. But I didn't have a DK with yarn because most of my yarns are fingering or 4-ply. So yeah, I just decided to use the mohair and fingering weight yarn, because that's just what I had on hand, and I didn't want to buy new yarn. And this yarn I've used for or the main yarn I use for this is the second project with it, and I still have leftovers, so kind of sick of this yarn. But also it blocks really nicely, so that means I gotta block my Jenny sweater because it's made with the same yarn but not the same mohair. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, I like it. I'm gonna wait until the last possible second day to take finished object photos, because it's still summertime temperatures here where I live in the Bay Area. It's today's 80, but it's still gonna go back to 85, 86. You know, it's not gonna drop down anytime soon. So yeah, definitely gonna wait until later in September to even try to take finished object photos, because I tried it on today, but that was when it was 77 or 76 degrees, and now it's 78. It's getting hotter, so no thank you. Yeah, I'm so proud that I got it done so early. I thought I would have to use all the time to knit it, because it just felt like it was taking forever. Especially the body. The body felt like forever. I haven't counted how many dip stitches there are, or the repeats on the body, because there's just so many. But yeah, I measured it from the back to be 50 centimeters, but I haven't measured it since it was since it dried. And it dried in half a day because it was that hot. I think I dried it yesterday. It dried yesterday. And it was like 86. But it felt like 90, so I don't know. And let me measure it right now. It is... What? Is that short? No, it's not that short. It's about B. So, rip me is less than 50 centimeters because I had to stretch it. I'm such a dummy. So it's closer to the finished garment size in the pattern. So yeah. Oops. I should have done to 55. And then when it blocked, it would block out 5 centimeters or something. Yeah. Definitely not my brightest moment, but it'll do. And I have another finished FO, which is a Sophie Scarf that I highly modified. I said the modifications in the last one, in the last episode. And yeah. So from the halfway point to the end is like 40 centimeters. And for the center, it's a increase 2 rows regular and then a decrease row. So that's what my center looks like. I mean, it's not what's supposed to be in the pattern, and that's why I said it. And this is with fingering weight yarn. So yeah. And I increased every 19 rows because I'm crazy. Okay. And every increase is pretty like prominent because you increase so like far apart, I guess. So it's not how it's supposed to look like a Sophie Scarf, but it'll do for now. And this one is actually supposed to be a headband, just to demo it for you a little bit. It's supposed to be like this, and I could tie in the back and it'd be fine. I did wear it even though it was so hot this week. I wore it for like a day and I got really sweaty. But yeah, I haven't blocked it, but it's done. I just woven the ends. I mean, you just stick it through the I-cord and you're done, which is like super easy for the Sophie Scarf. You just put it through the I-cord. And Kimmy Mulcomb has a tutorial on that, video tutorial. So you can go check that out if you're wondering exactly how to weave in your ends, especially if you have to use another ball of yarn. Yeah. And I still have so much left of this ball, like, but I know it's not enough to make the large one, but it's probably maybe enough to make the small one. But I would still have to modify it because it's a much thinner yarn than the pattern calls for. Because I think the pattern calls for like a DK weight yarn, because you know cashmere is like really fluffy, so yeah. Oh, there's a cat there or something. Oh yeah, and what I have left over from the Cargill Sweater by Rebecca from Crab Knitting Podcast. I still have a third left. But I want to say half left, because I don't think, I mean, I used around like 1,000 meters, maybe a little less, to be honest. Well, maybe a little more, like 1,200 meters maybe. But that's at the high end. At the low end is like 1,000. But I can't for sure tell you accurately how much, because I used 2 and an incomplete ball, but I couldn't tell you if it was like halfway or like 3/4 of that ball. So, I don't know. But I had 1 1/4 ball left of this finita yarn in aquamarine. So tired of this color and yarn, honestly, because this is my third project, the large Sophie Scarf. And I had to modify it because I was being a dum-dum, and I decreased when the pattern told me to decrease, but it was gonna be the same length as a small version, because it's a much thinner yarn, obviously. It's the same weight as the Purl Soho line weight, which is a fingering weight. They're both fingering weights. So yeah. And the finita yarn's about $15 per ball, but because it's 100 grams, it's like $8, $8.50 or something. But I usually get on sale, so it's usually around $8 on sale, so it's kind of expensive. Or I said $8 per 50 grams. But Purl Soho line weight is like, when I bought it, it was like $14 on sale. So I guess it's more expensive. But yeah, I don't know. How much meters is this? Let's see. Definitely more than 400 meters. It's like 494 yards, which is it's about like 450 meters. So you definitely get more with the Purl Soho one. But it's also slightly thinner because, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, I had to increase a lot more, so I had to increase to 35. I have 35 increases, so yeah. So I can get the right width, which is 13 centimeters, which is about 5 inches. And from the halfway point to the end is about 50 centimeters, or like 49 centimeters, give or take. So yeah, so I ran out of yarn, So I'm gonna attach new one. And actually I was just gonna magic knot it because I was lazy, but then I remembered that Kimmy Mokom also has it's the same video on how to weave in your ends. Wait, is it the same video? I don't know. I think it could be a separate video on how to attach new yarn. And I'm probably gonna have to look at that again because maybe I attached it on the wrong side. Or maybe I have to rip back to here to attach it on the side that has increases to attach it. But gonna have to look at that. And then I think she doesn't weave in the end until like all the way at the end. So that's probably what I'm gonna do too, because you would have to use a needle, and I don't want to use a needle right now. And as you can tell, I'm using straight needles, the same straight needles that I used for this one. Yeah, I had to rip back once in this project, so that's not bad compared to this one where I had to rip back like around 10 times because I couldn't make up my mind, or like I decided to do something different, especially the middle. I ripped back like 5 times in the middle because yeah, it just every time I measure it, like it'd be different. So yeah, trying to get that right measurement from the middle to the end is like annoying. And then I would like forget to measure the middle or whatever and be like, oh my god, do I have to rip back again so that the middle is like 5 centimeters or something? So yeah, I did that 5 times. It was so frustrating, but I got through it. And then I remembered that I did the decreases wrong. So I was like over here, and then I'm like, shit, I had to redo all the decreases because I did it wrong, because I didn't look at the pattern. Even though I bought it, I didn't look at the pattern and look at how the decreases are done. I mean, I did, but I didn't look at it closely enough, so I did not do a step correctly. So because it looked really bulky and weird, like the decreases, so it looks more seamless, but you can still see it because they're so spaced apart. So yeah, that was like kind of frustrating, but yeah. And I knit both of these with the Norwegian continental style knitting, and low-key hurts my hands. Okay, not gonna lie, it does hurt my hands a little bit because I have to keep the yarn pretty tight here, and then because the needles like rub against my skin every time I pick up a stitch, it makes this part hurt a lot. Then also the same on the other hand, because I have to pull the yarn tight, and then I have to hold the stitches with my right hand, and that pulling motion every time you pick up, it kind of like it kind of shaves your finger, so that part hurts too. So it's very similar to lace crochet, where you like basically stab your finger over and over again, and it's that same like chafing feeling. Yeah, but it's not as red, so that's a plus. Or maybe I'm just doing it wrong. I don't know. I probably have to adjust because I'm still learning how this stitch or how this style works. Obviously, I don't have that much practice with Norwegian purling because this is all knit stitches, and the only purling that happens is when you bind off. I think that's the only time you purl in this pattern. So yeah, because you have to bind off in pattern. Let's see. And then I dropped the needle. I'm gonna drink my coffee. And I did some swatching. I did a lot of swatching. But I haven't washed any of them, so I don't know it's true like stitch gauge. And they still smell like oil. Yeah. So I swatched the Oogie Pearl just single stranded on a 3.5mm needle. And I did this swatch for, what's it called? The Alpine sweater, or the Alpine 1 sweater by DRK Andrea Maury, and her company is Drea Renee Knits. So yeah, the Alpine sweater. I really wanted to hit gauge with a single strand, but I think it's too light in a 3.5 needle. And yeah, that's such a bummer to me. And I think it's like 26 stitches, but the gauge is 23. So yeah, kind of sucks. Because she uses a sport weight yarn, and this is a 4-ply, so it's like two yarn weights away, because this is light fingering. 4-ply is basically a light fingering. So yeah, no bueno for that. So I made a second one, which is 2 strands on a 3.5. Is it 3.5? Yes. And I put knots on it, so like the 3 is here, and then I put one far away, so it's a 0.5. So yeah. And right now it's sitting at 22 stitches if I stretch it sideways. But if I don't stretch it, will it be 23? But if I stretch it vertically, it becomes 24. So it really sits in between. And yeah, I don't know. And it is kind of stiff, but it's still like pliable, but it doesn't drape well. But this is probably like my only option. Because I want it to look like granite, but like colorful granite. So Oogie Pearl is the perfect yarn for that. Because it's not boring. Because I felt like a gray heather yarn would be too boring, and in photos it would be it would look like one color, but in person it wouldn't. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is pretty good, and pretty good colorway, And for the other yarns I'm going to use, because I'm going to use the fuzzy yarns and maybe the cashmere 3 strands, so we'll see about that. And then I swatched for the Sycamore Sweater by petiteknit. I already bought that pattern. I also bought the Alpine pattern and a whole bunch of other petiteknit patterns. Finally, after like thinking about it for like months. Let's see, what is this? Right, this is 2 strands of powder blue and 1 strand of oogie pearl, and it's like the color I want. I don't know if you can see it, because the oogie pearl is kind of like, you see it sometimes, and then the blue is the main color, and I wanted to emulate the sky, like a grayish sky, and I think it's pretty spot on, except that powder blue is not the right shade of blue. It's like, it's much brighter, if you know what I mean. So yeah, but it's really stiff on 4.5. So then I did it on 5. Is this 5? Yes. So I did it on 5, and the drape is much nicer on it, but it's also holier. So that's what I didn't like about the Sycamore Sweater, is there's less structure because you put it on a much larger needle, a 5mm needle, and yeah, I kind of don't like that in general. And I'm also trying to size down the sweater with gauge, because the smallest size finished bust is 39 centimeters, but that's 9 inches of positive ease for me, and the sweater's supposed to be 6 inches or 5 to 6 inches positive ease, and 9 inches was way over that, so it would look super baggy on me, and that's not the look that this sweater is designed to be. So because of that, I'd have to go down to 4.5, and the stitch gauge, instead of 16, it would be 18, which is the same stitch gauge as the champagne cardigan, which I also have. So yeah, basically a DK weight. I mean, she also uses a DK weight in the Sycamore Sweater pattern, and this turns out to be an Aran weight overall. So with 3 strands of 4-ply, that becomes an Aran weight, or worsted Aran. Yeah. So that's not what I want, and it's too stiff. It doesn't drape at all in the 4.5. So I did another swatch with the Atari cashmere and the powder blue and oogie pearl. So it gave the drape I want, or the pliability that I want. I think it's better to say drape. And it hits the 18 stitch gauge, and this one also hit the 18 stitch gauge as well, and it also hits the row gauge pretty closely. The row gauge in the pattern is 24. I got 25. It's pretty close. And yeah, because the Atari cashmere from colourmart that I have, it's a heavy lace weight, so yeah, it's like, it makes it thin enough where it's more pliable. Or, sorry, it has more drape. It's not as like stiff. So, yeah. And it's on 4.5 millimeter needles. But I'm torn on the color because it's much more muted in this yarn combination. But I asked my boyfriend if he can tell the difference between these two, and he said no, he cannot tell the difference between these two swatches at all, or like the color difference. But I'm a color Nazi, so of course I can tell, because going to school for art makes you differentiate between colors like crazy. Like, even the smallest amount of a different color can really drastically change how you perceive the color. I mean, in my opinion. But other people are like less anal about it, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I'm like super specific, particular about colors, and to be honest, construction of the sweater too. So yeah, enough about that. And then I just, for the fuck of it, I just did 2 strands powder blue and then 1 strand the Atari cashmere, to see if I liked this color. And I didn't do this gauge swatch for gauge, I did it for color, but still hit the gauge even if it's this small. And yeah, the drape is the same. I don't know, and it looks like better, I guess, but it doesn't remind me of the color of the sky. It reminds me of the color of water, which I don't know if you can tell. The color difference? I mean, the camera's kind of far, so it's really hard to show. If there's any like difference in color at all. And there's also like a lot of shadows, so whatever. So yeah, and I'm still waiting for yarn to come in for the stripe, because this is for the main color of the Sycamore Sweater, because I'm like kind of changing stuff around. So instead of like most of the color difference in the stripe is gonna have the least color difference, because I'm using 2 strands of 2 different colors in the striping part. Because even though it's called the Sycamore Sweater, it's like modeled after the sycamore tree, which is like really like horizontal. The branches are horizontal, and that's why that part is colored. I'm doing like the stripe part as like fog. Like, that's what I'm going for. That's fog. And then the main color is the color of the sky. So, very different concept, but I'm using the same pattern. I know that's not what petiteknit intended, but that's what I'm gonna do. I actually might make another one and use like different color greens for the stripe part because I love me a green. And then maybe that could be my like Christmas tree sweater. I think I said this last time, but I really want a Christmas sweater, but specifically a green Christmas tree sweater. So either if it has like the Christmas tree motif, or maybe like kind of more abstract like the Sycamore sweater, which I mean Sycamore is a type of tree, so I could do that. But I don't know if the main color should be all green as well, but like a lighter green, maybe the shamrock green from JCPenney. And if you look in my last episode, maybe should I just get it? Oh my god. Okay, I'll just get it and I'll show you my idea. Okay, I'm back with my shade cards. Yeah, I don't like the greens, or I don't like the light greens in the cashmere one. Aquamarine, I don't like that color. It's not light enough for me. Maybe I should get a winter white color. I don't know. The cashmere winter white is like really creamy compared to the super soft winter white, which is much whiter, but still on the creamy side. I don't know how else to show you this besides like bending it, but this is the color I want for the main color, I guess. And I could just hold this double, it should be okay. Because holding a triple on 4.5 is too stiff. Let's see. And then, oof. Oh. I'm just like so in awe of this color. Green bark, which is very dark green with dark brown spots in it, basically. And then with spruce, which is a very similar tree to sycamore, I think. Maybe. So yeah, that's a nice tree color, or leaf color, I guess. And then maybe pine shadow, but pine shadow is very yellow, or it leans more yellow than the other two. This is more of a neutral, and this is more of a brown, like a saturated green with the brown. I don't know. Yeah, and then pine shadow and Turin, these two colors, they're more on the yellow side, so I'm probably not gonna use those. Oh man, if only they had a lighter spring meadow, then I would definitely use that with Shamrock Shake. But Shamrock Shake is on the cooler side. I'm so torn. But yeah, Shamrock Shake is on the cooler side and not as neutral or warm as these two colors. And then I don't know. Maybe instead of spruce or instead of green bark, I can use old forest right here. Instead, I don't know how well you can see that. Let me see if I can finagle these together. These are like really freaking huge. Let's see, can you see this? Oh, this is not it. Oop. So, So this is spruce. It's very cool, or not cool, but it's a very neutral green. And this is a very saturated dark green. And this is oh my gosh, it's yellow leaning as well. Now that I look at it again. But this is old forest, spruce, green bark, old forest. This is pine shadow. And it looks more similar to pine shadow, but it is more like dusty neutrally. But I don't know. I don't know about those. Yeah, and I find that the super soft colors are more my speed, I guess, than the super soft cashmere colors. But because there's cashmere in it, it's actually a much more fluffy yarn. So it would take, I don't know, it would just be fluffier, in my opinion. But yeah, that's really only the dark, kind of like leafy green that is in line with my image of the sycamore tree, or trees in general. I don't know. But yeah, that spruce, it looks so nice. And I don't know, I feel like the more I look at the jade color, I also dislike it less, or dislike it more every time I look at the jade color, because I don't know, I can't tell you why, because I don't know why. Yeah, which shape looks super weird with these darker colors. I feel like it would, because it's such a minty green. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, spring meadow would be, it would match the colors a little better. But I don't know. I think I just have to go back to the drawing board on that, because I don't know when I would have the time to make a second Sycamore sweater. Let's be honest. And even if I use those cones double, or two-stranded, I guess you could say, I would still have enough to make 2 more sweaters. Or at least 1 more sweater in like a DK way, so yeah. Or more, because the Sycamore sweater only calls for like 650, at most 650 or 638 meters for the main color, and then for the stripe color it's only 300 meters, or 200 to 300 meters, and that is so little compared to a African white sweater that's less than 1,000 meters. Like this, it's like 1,000 to 1,200. But the Sycamore is much longer, but I don't know. Maybe probably because it's like a DK weight, like an actual DK weight yarn, and not like a fingering plus mohair. But yeah. Is that on my plans? Oh, I guess I do have all the yarn for the Alpine sweater right now. But I think I'm still a little wishy-washy with the color combos. So, yeah. And also because it's it starts with the color work part, and I'm not very confident in color work because I've never done it before, and so I probably have to look at color dominance. Like there's a link in the pattern for Alpine Glow for color dominance, so I'm gonna have to look at that. I haven't looked at it yet, so yeah. And I haven't worked on the sporting skirt because I am procrastinating picking up stitches for the shorts. It's not even due until October, so I'll probably procrastinate on that a little more, and like finish the Sophie Scarf, and then yeah. But I'm still gonna have so much left over, so I don't even know what the hell to do with this. If you guys know what to do with a little less than 400 meters of yarn, let me know. Oh, I guess I could use it in the Cargill Sweater, but by Rebecca of Crave podcast. I could use it for that, but I don't know how much yarn I need for that, so it would be on the back burner. But I have a whole nother skein of this, so I could use this with the strawberry sherbet. There's no second R, so I have no idea how to pronounce this word, and it's annoying. Yeah, I could use this with that, but that color is a cooler color than, it's a cooler pink than this, and this is a very warm pink, or it's a peachier pink, so hopefully the color difference will be fine. It'll be more of like a subtle one, but if I do powder blue and this, it would be very striking because powder blue is this color. Can you see this? No, probably not. How do I show this? It's like a, oh, it doesn't really show that the color difference well. Oh, maybe like right here. Yeah. Oh, right here. This is more accurate. Okay. So if you could see that, this is more green in color and this is more blue. In person, it's quite obvious. So yeah, and this is more of a dusty color in general, and this is a brighter color. So yeah, I could do that. But do I want another sweater in this color? Like, kind of not. So I wrote the combinations down in this, which is my sketchbook. I use it for basically jotting down all my thoughts nowadays. So yeah, I put it in there. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to say that I started my June top light, and I'm using it doesn't really look like much because it keeps rolling, but I think I have like 2 centimeters done basically, and I did the Judy's Magic cast on, and yeah. And this is knit on a 2.5 because that's what it says to do, and I'm using the, what's it called, the 24 centimeter cord on this one. I'm using a 16-inch cord on the other one, and I'm using the 4-inch needles, so 16 plus 8 is 24 inches, so yeah, they like match. And these are just, this is not a beginning of round because it's on the other side. This is just like to mark the 50 stitch mark, I guess. And the last one is the 20 stitch mark. But this is my beginning round right here. And I'm actually using the Norwegian continental style for this as well. And did I say the June top light is by petiteknit? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the Norwegian continental style is much easier on something that has something or more to grip on, but yeah, the Sophie Scarf doesn't have that. You just have this little, and it decreases every other round basically, or not every other round, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it's much easier on a in the round project for sure. Did I say what yarn I'm using? I'm using Knitting for Olive Pure Silk and Ice Blue. Is that what it's called? And this top actually uses only 2 balls in my size. Let's see. Yes, it's called Ice Blue or Isbla. And in a Scandinavian language. I'm assuming it's Danish because Knitting for Olive is a Danish company. So yeah. Not much else to say besides wish me luck that my purls aren't ridiculously different from my knits. Oh, but I did use continental style for these swatches. So, so I did practice the Norwegian purling, and I have to pull the purl stitch. I have to tighten it every time, and to tighten it, you like pull the needle towards you. So yeah, I have to tighten every single purl stitch, or else I get like growing out basically. You can see the difference between each row, and that's no bueno. So yeah, I'm still like adjusting to that. So I mean, I row out with silk on with, what do you call it? With Portuguese style knitting anyways, so it might be a little worse for stockinette, especially when it's flat. Yeah, I'm not super excited about reaching the knitting flat part for this top because I don't know, I'd either have to change to Portuguese knitting or something if I'm dissatisfied with it. But I don't even know if that would help. Because for my other camisoles, I didn't really have a problem with that. But those were with, or my camisole number 4 I did with English knitting, and that hurt my hands, so not doing that again. And then the, what do you call it? The olive top was with Portuguese style knitting. And you can't really tell because it's so heavily like patterned, or so you can't really tell because of that. Because on the purl rows, it's just purling. You don't do any increase, decrease, or whatever. So it's chill. But I mean, technically it is the same for the June top, but I mean, I don't know. It's just more obvious because it's stockinette. Like when it's something plain and not patterned, it's just more apparent. And the corselet tank that I did also, I did with Portuguese style knitting, but I don't find that rowing out stays in linen cotton blends anyways. And I have to stretch all my camisoles vertically anyway, so because they become too wide after washing in the washing machine. Yeah. I wish I could do about that. But yeah, I have 2 new whips, 2 finished objects, which is a pretty good track record in 1 week for me, just because I usually don't finish anything that quickly. But yeah. Starting the Judy Magic cast on, I thought it would be like such a, I mean, it did take like an hour, but once I got it done, it's like whatever, you know? It's like doable. And I find that it's better than casting on too tightly, because I always do that. So yeah, especially in a less forgiving yarn like silk. So yeah, I'm gonna end the podcast here. Hopefully it's not too long. Let me see. I can't see the numbers on it, so let me check real quick. 50, is that 55? No, those are seconds. 1 hour 15. Oh shit, I've been talking too long. So on the podcast here, see you guys next week. And yeah, just chill, I guess. Alright, see ya.